Hey, welcome back to the Bonsai Escape. Mike here, and today I'm going to trim up this Procumbens Nana Juniper, one that we actually did some shari work on in a previous video, so check that out. This has a lot of brand new growth. I've just taken the wires off beginning of spring because it was starting to get some wire bite, but it's extended, a lot of new growth has hardened off, and it's a great time to start trimming it up. Stay tuned. This obviously is a long process. I've only taken care of one branch so far, not even a branch on the lower section. It takes a long time, but I'm going to share with you what I'm really actually doing here from some of these clippings. The Procumbens Nana has very, very sharp needles. This is not an example of it. This might be a little bit better example, but this is the new spring growth. It's very soft and malleable, and then once it hardens off, it starts getting these needle-like prickers. And we just had some mist of rain last night, so it's actually a little softer today. But one of the reasons why people don't like Procumbens is because they hurt your fingers. You get little tingles. So this is an old, hardened off juniper foliage, very sharp. This is last year, maybe earlier this spring's growth. This is brand new growth, very soft and malleable. So what I'm trying to do as I'm going through this, you can find all this new young growth at the tips, and I'm trying to eliminate some of these long extensions. These long extensions, here's basically the pad, and this one branch will continue to extend. So what I'm trying to do is just come in the middle and snip off the extension of that branch to bifurcate and get two side branches, maybe one in the middle. And that's what I'm looking for. On top of that, I'm trying to pluck some of these needles off the tips just to encourage some back budding since it's already hardened off. You don't want to cut, I wish I could just cut this all up and make it look pretty. But this will brown very easily, and so the big process in just trimming every little branch here. As I'm doing it, what I'm looking for, this would be a branch hanging down, I'm looking for any downward growth like this, and I just pluck that off. This is downward growth, it's a little bit thicker, so I'll cut it off. And then anything that's emerging from the top growth, like this guy right here, I'll snip that guy back. And so I'm just trying to create a flat pad. We've got a long extending tip here, so I'll cut him back. This has an example of what happens when the tip has been either plucked off or cut or died off. It turns brown, and if you do that to the whole juniper, you'll have a very ugly looking tree. So I'll snip any of those or pull those buds out, but I'm trying to kind of even out this pad. And that means plucking off some of these extending tips to make it, that's a long thick one, that's a major branch. Cut that off and continue to pluck around the pad to give it a little bit of uniformity and make it flat. And that's kind of what I'm going for around this entire tree. So with that being said, this is going to take quite a bit of time. I'll give you some updates as we go along. But stay tuned, and I'm going to show you what it looks like once we've cleaned out and got some more light into this interior foliage. So one of the big problems I had with this tree when I first got it, it was overgrown, extremely overgrown, And when that happens with the juniper, all the foliage starts competing for sunlight, and we get these long, skinny branches. This is still questionable what I'm going to do with this branch, but essentially I've been trying to thin back and allow some back budding. Junipers don't necessarily back bud into hardwood very easily, but they do get some crotch growth like you'll see up here. But all you can do with a long skinny branch is start bending it and shortening it that way. And that's what I had wires on doing last year as much as I could. I'm gonna have to probably go through and wire this again, but this is a great example down here of this branch, this massive branch down here that was all straight. And so I've been thinning it out and trying to get some movement in the branching so that it shortens the branch, as well as trying to limit the extension of the growth and trying to back bud it into some of the crotch growth here and whatnot. Over time it'll work, so I'm just going to continue that process, and we'll see you in a bit. Here's a great example of what I'm trying to look for. This branch here, very long, I've tried to bend it back to shorten it up, and it's happening, but I'm getting a lot of growth here at the top. Actually, this is all really fresh new growth, and if I cut this whole bottom section off, it's going to shorten it quite a bit, and it's going to start letting this become the new leader with a shorter branch. So I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. We'll just cut her back to here. I might actually go back all the way up to that section. I'll leave this, take this bottom one off. Now I've got some options here for branching, and I'm going to leave that tip on just to give it some strength. But now I've really shortened that up, and I'm just going to continue around. This backside really doesn't have any back budding anywhere to mention, so I've got to keep fighting this guy, and eventually I might just cut it off. I don't know yet. Just see how it develops over time, and if it can push some energy into this back branch, I'll work on that, but that's what we're doing. Well, we're finished. The Juniper Procumbens Nana spring cleanup is done. She's got her winter coat. What's really exciting is to have all this deadwood feature at the top and still be getting some vigorous growth into the top section up here. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. I might thin it back more as we go. I made some choices along the way to create some gin areas that were a little crowded with branches. Now I just want to make sure I get an adequate amount of sunlight through here. Still have to wire this. I'm going to take another day to wire this because it's so intricate. Every little detail, every little branch typically has to be wired, but I'm trying to shorten these canopies. I think you can tell that I've still have that apical somewhat view. Again, I'm leaving this growth up here just to get a little strength in the upper canopy, but I'll thin that out and we'll have that nice apical line from the back. Front has that nice apical. I need to thin this out a little bit, but I think it's really looks cool. It has great features, and being thin like this, it just gives the tree so much more character, especially the deadwood features that is really the highlight of this tree. So if you enjoyed that, make sure you hit subscribe and we'll catch you next time.